We welcome back now Brian Hook, former U.S. Special Representative for Iran, and Brett Velicovich, former Army Special Ops Intel Analyst and a Fox News contributor and founder, by the way, of Power Us, important military assistance. Brian Hook, I'll begin with you because I'm just not sure what's going on here, okay? I give the president full credit. I support him. I continue to support him. I support the mission to decapitate Iran. But it just seems like we're stubbing our toes here and there and without deadlines. And why did we not, take seriously the UAE bombing? Heck, China took seriously the UAE bombing, apparently. They didn't like it either, believe it or not. Anyway, how do you read this story? What's going on here, Brian Hook?
Well, I think President Trump has given the Iranians an opportunity to choose peace over war. But I think he's done that throughout this first and second term. And so there's some period of strength and there's some period of diplomacy. I think that seems to be the natural rhythm of how he operates. He's built up enough economic and military leverage against the regime that he needs to then use this to get the deal that you were talking about, Larry, which is no enrichment, and that's got to be verified. Iran cannot have a path to the nuclear to a nuclear weapon, and unfortunately, the Iran nuclear deal gave them exactly that. And so President Trump was right to leave it in the first term. Here we are in the second term. Unlike President Obama, President Trump has built up, I think, enough leverage to get the deal that is going to be necessary if we're going to accomplish our national security objectives.
All right, but look, again, I completely support the mission and the president. But look, let me go to Brett Velicovich. Brett, to me, first of all, there ought to be a deadline. Whatever this one-pager is, now some media people are reporting there's multiple copies with different things on it. I don't know. It's like we're negotiating here in order to pave the way for future negotiations. I'm not sure I understand that. I preferred unconditional surrender. He should just dictate and let them deal with it because they got decapitated. Then there's not even, I thought originally 24 to 48 hours for an Iranian response just to this so-called one-pager. But apparently the president has said today there is no deadline on that. To me, no deadline is just the wrong way to go. And I want to control, I'm going to say it a fourth or fifth time, gosh, I want the United States to control all of the Gulf of Arabia, including the Strait of Hormuz. Full stop. End of sentence. Not negotiation. I want us to control it for quite some time, including the blockade, Brett. And it just doesn't seem like it's happening.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think there should be a deadline, but Washington does deserve some credit for something our government rarely gets right, and that's negotiating right now from overwhelming leverage instead of weakness. Iran is not suddenly talking about a deal, Larry, because the regime had a moral awakening. They are negotiating because we forced it, because their economy is under pressure, their oil exports are disrupted, their currency is battered, and they know the United States is serious. There's no more fake red lines that they were used to in the past. Diplomacy only works when the other side fears the alternative. And right now, Iran fears the military alternative that you're talking about. Iran's leadership is learning also a very brutal economic lesson in real time. When you build your entire economy around oil exports and sanction evasion, maritime pressure becomes existential. The regime is facing collapsing currency values. They're shrinking export capability. They're rising inflation. And that's why the conversation around a moratorium on uranium enrichment matters so much. Tehran is not suddenly becoming reasonable. They're responding to pressure they can no longer ignore. The money is drying up. And I think that's one of the biggest economic stories here, that we finally fundamentally have reversed the leverage equation. For years, Iran used nuclear negotiations as a business strategy. They dragged out talks. They got sanctions relief. It refilled the regime's bank account. And then all of a sudden, they restart the pressure campaign later. This administration seems to have finally flipped that model. The pressure's coming first. The relief is only going to come after real concessions. And if Iran freezes enrichment even temporarily, to me, it is an admission that maximum pressure works. And frankly, in today's world, financial pressure seems to be able to hit harder than missiles because Iran is coming to the table. But we do need a deadline. And we don't want to reset from before.
Well, not only do we need deadlines, Brian Hook, I'll come to you on this. Look, we need deadlines because they'll string us along. Now, the president knows that, his team knows that, but they're letting him do it anyway. That's what I find hard. And I say this as a supporter. Trump has done what nobody else was able to do or would do down through the years, and he has maximized the pressure. And undoubtedly, Iran, you know, they may be bankrupt, but I'm not sure they care about bankruptcy. Can they get along for another 3 or 4 months, as Mike Pompeo was quoted? Maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. But, Brian, deadlines are very important. And I'll tell you, restarting Project Freedom so that we control the Strait of Hormuz. We have to show the world that we, not Iran, controls the Strait, Brian. That, to me, is non-negotiable.
Well, there are two things I liked. I like Project Freedom because it signals to the world that the strait's going to be open and we're going to have, this is an international waterway, and I wish more countries in the world would join President Trump in trying to help open this, but most of the countries in the world seem to be admiring the problem or just criticizing the president. The second thing is the naval blockade is imposing real economic costs on the Iranian regime. I think a lot about how President Reagan won the Cold War through economic means. Obviously, there was a big military component of peace through strength, but he decided very early on in his presidency that the Soviet Union didn't have an economy that could survive like the United States. And I think there's a similar parallel here. The Iranian economy is on an economic precipice, and it was only a few months ago that they had 5 million people take to the streets. And the conditions now are worse now than they were in January. And I think the regime very much fears that. So I like Project Freedom, and I like the naval blockade being able to run its course.
Right. So that's my point about Project Freedom. That's a key point. And there shouldn't be any negotiation. I mean, I think, Brett, this will be the last one to run out of time, but I think the reason we paused it was because of the protests from the Saudis and the Kuwaitis and the UAE, because nobody seemed to worry about the bombs from Iran hitting the UAE, including some of their oil operations. I think that's what happened. I don't think we paused it for part of the negotiations. Maybe I could be wrong about that. But in any event, the Wall Street Journal is reporting today that it will be reopened because the Saudis have lifted their restrictions in the Kuwaitis. We can use their bases as, you know, per usual. I mean, if we don't reopen it, I think that will have been a setback for our position. And I don't want him to see a setback. He's going to China next week. I want to show strength. Now, the president is he is the quintessential strength, but somehow he just seems to, I don't know, these little traps seem to be popping up, Brett. That's my concern. I want China to see strength. I want North Korea. I want Russia. You know, I call them the three uglies now. We got the fourth ugly on the ropes in Iran. But the three uglies are still out there watching our every move, Brett Velicovich.
Yeah, well, Larry, look, the next few moments is also about a major credibility for the United States, right?
Yes.
If President Trump secures a deal where Iran halts enrichment and formally accepts the principle that it can't possess nuclear weapons, it sends a message globally that American pressure still works. China's watching, Russia's watching, every hostile regime is watching whether or not the United States can still enforce red lines economically without immediately resorting to massive war. But the bottom line is now is not the time to let up. If we let up now, we hand the Iranian regime survival. You hand them exactly what they have used against us as a tactic for decades. And the regime right now is trying every single game to survive long enough to rearm. And this may be the best opportunity we've ever had to fundamentally change it, because the cost of backing down is generational at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, Brett. That's just what I'm getting at. And I'm rooting for Trump. I'm not getting cold feet in the Iranian mission. No way. I'm not getting cold feet on President Trump. No way. I just don't want any let up right here. We have the momentum. Look, we're decapitating them, no question about it. I don't care if they can last another month, fine. But we have the means to decapitate them even further. We'll do it militarily or we'll do it economically, whichever one comes first, maybe both at the same time. I just want to show strength, particularly going into the Chinese talks. Anyway, gentlemen, I appreciate it.